Shazia Marri is Pakistan's federal minister for poverty alleviation and social safety. She's been overseeing relief efforts in the south and joins us from Sangar in Sindh province. Minister, hello.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking time to talk to us. Based on what you are seeing right now, how would you describe the scale of the devastation?
Well, the scale and the magnitude of this devastation is huge. I mean, we still are unable to assess the numbers that you've just shared, the updated figures, more than 33 million people displaced and more than 1,300 lives lost and so many people injured, and millions are on the road, and we are not able to provide tents to each and every family. That is a huge crisis, and no government will be able to deal with this catastrophe, and this is a lesson learned. But having said that, we continue to do whatever we can, and we are getting some help, and we are grateful for the kind of help that comes our way from the developing partners, from World Bank, from Asian Development Bank, from UN agencies, and now we've got different countries, the global community coming, reaching out, extending help. And I completely agree when one actually wants to not only get help, but ensure that this help reaches the people who actually need it. So that is another task that we are undergoing at this point in time.
Is that happening right now? There has been, and you just heard it there, anger towards the pace of the government response, and some suggestions that perhaps political tensions are overshadowing relief efforts for those who need them most.
Well, Matt, more than that, I think that this was, it is any government's nightmare. Like I said, the scale of catastrophe and the fact that no one was prepared for it. It's a climate crisis. And God forbid we might see more of these in future. But a country like ours was completely unprepared. We do understand that there is climate change and there are, whatever happens around the world and whatever emissions are used, we are going to get worst affected. But we never realized that this is going to be as bad as it is today in Pakistan. Having said that, obviously people are to get frustrated. Obviously, they're going to agitate. They will need the help. I mean, what do you say to a family living on the roadside and facing the kind of mosquitoes they have to face, and cattle that is their economic support, and the cattle being bitten, the cows being bitten by mosquitoes. I mean, stagnant water brings waterborne diseases, mosquitoes, and the other kinds of diseases that we are seeing. I mean, there are medical camps we are putting up. Private sector has also helped. There are NGOs helping. I hail from a district called Sangar, which is also calamity hit. And there is government and private effort that we are trying to help them with. But I feel that there's more required, much more, because the catastrophe is huge. I mean, 33 million people. This is, I think Canada's population is around about 38 million. And probably another country might have a similar population. So that is a whole nation's, a country's population that is displaced in Pakistan. You can well imagine, I mean, I am living in a situation like this. After 5 or 6 o'clock, we are flooded by mosquitoes.
I want to ask you more about the larger picture of climate change in a moment, but in the immediate impact of this, and you talk about families sitting on the sides of the roads because their houses have been washed away, villages underwater. What is it that the government can do in the immediate moment to help those citizens?
Well, of course, the government has done and needs more support in trying to get the tents to people, because there are people who are without tents. There is also this, the plastic sheet that people are using, and that also kind of brings some relief to them. At least they have something to cover their heads with. So there's sun, there are mosquitoes, they can tie a mosquito net around 4 poles. So yes, something to cover themselves with. So tents, I would say, that's most needed. Government has tried, but the need is far more than what was procured or what the capacity is to procure. Secondly, most importantly, is again the mosquito issue, the stagnant water. We can't treat the water. I mean, it'd be ideal if we can treat the water and sort of make that safe. But we need to provide some kind of protection from mosquitoes and mosquito nets ideally. The third most important thing is food. There's cooked food because in many areas, if there's stagnant water, there's water all around. You can't make a stove or you can't light the woods to get fire and cook on. So these households or families need cooked a meal. But there are dry ration that can be provided. And I'd say a very important concern today, it's very painful, the health issues that are now emerging. And this is diarrhea, like I heard the report. Diarrhea, yes, malaria. There are skin diseases, scabies. I mean, I've been to camps where I've seen these diseases myself. And we see that children are undernourished. People are undernourished, obviously, if they don't get food. So these are very serious issues related to health. A lot is being done. But Matt, a lot more has to be done given the size of this catastrophe. This is bigger than any country to handle.
What would you want to see from the international community to meet what you have just described and the dire consequences that will emerge from that? If those issues, if waterborne illnesses aren't treated, for example, and the netting isn't provided to protect citizens from malaria, what do you want to see from the international community on that?
But I would first of all like to thank the international community for at least showing that interest in Pakistan and the calamity that has hit Pakistan, because it is going to be a reality for everyone at some point in time in future as well. So I'd urge upon the international community to please reach out and, if there are NGOs working in different countries, if there are volunteers working, we need more people to bring us tents, mosquito nets.
We're just about out of time. So the last question that I wanted to ask you was about what you've already raised, which is the issue of climate change. You have seen floods in 2010, 2011. Climate change experts believe that this will only get worse in the years to come. So what is the message now coming out of this catastrophe for the country to better be prepared for the next catastrophe?
Of course. And that is for our country's own good. We'll have to be prepared. But at the same time, since Pakistan plays the kind of role in emissions, but it has to suffering today. So I'd also urge the international community to actually look into how you can help the country.
Minister, are you still there? Minister, I think we've lost you on the line. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us. Shazia Marri is Pakistan's Federal Minister for Poverty Alleviation and Social Safety. She was in Pakistan in one of the hard-hit areas in Sangar Sindh province in the south.